I want you to imagine yourself standing directly in front of a heavy, ornate door, its surface carved with the intricate details of the life you have always claimed to want. Behind that mahogany threshold lies a financial independence that breathes space into your calendar, the quiet recognition of your deepest talents, and a mind no longer ravaged by the ghosts of what if. You are close enough to smell the wood of the door, close enough to feel the warmth of prosperity radiating from the other side. Yet, as you reach out to push, you find your feet are anchored to the floor. There is an invisible weight, a silent, heavy pressure pressing against your chest, keeping you exactly 3 feet away from the threshold. You are working harder than ever. You are sacrificing your sleep and perhaps your very sanity, yet the door does not budge an inch. Have you ever stopped to wonder why some people seem to breeze through that door with the effortless grace of a summer wind, while you remain outside in the cold? Do you truly believe they are merely the beneficiaries of a cosmic coin toss? I have to ask you, is it luck or is it intent? Is there a hidden architecture to achievement that you haven't been shown? Or are you perhaps navigating with the wrong map entirely? I want to suggest to you today that the barrier isn't the door and the weight isn't external. The answer to your frustration isn't found in what you're doing with your hands. It is found in the very chemistry of your thoughts. We are about to explore philosophy that suggests you can quite literally think your way into a new reality. But to do that, we must first dismantle everything you think you know about the nature of work. We live in a culture that worships the grind, a society that tells us from childhood that if we just push a little more, sweat a little more, and endure a little more misery, the riches will eventually flow. But if you look closely at the lives of the truly wealthy, the men and women who have moved the world, you'll find a startling, almost heretical contradiction to this rule. Napoleon Hill made an observation that I want you to let sink into the marrow of your bones. Riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work. They come in response to definite demands, based upon the application of specific principles, and never by mere chance or physical labor alone. I want to speak to the fatigue you may be feeling right now. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from being failure conscious. Most of us are conditioned from birth to be experts in the impossible. We spend our lives cataloging all the rules that will not work and memorizing all the things that cannot be done as if they were holy scripture. We become like the Asian student at the University of Chicago who, when asked what the most noticeable characteristic of Americans was, replied simply, "Your eyes." We judge the entire world by our own limited impressions, foolishly believing that our own self-imposed limitations are the proper measure of reality. If your thought habits have been steeped in poverty, want, and defeat, you are effectively blinded to the goal that lies just beneath your feet. You are trapped in a failure-conscious loop, and no amount of hard work will break you out of it until you find a missing chemical in your mind's laboratory. We must stop trying to force the door and start changing the mental vibrations that keep us anchored. The foundational architecture of this entire philosophy rests on one staggering premise. Thoughts are things. They are not merely fleeting whispers in the skull. They are powerful forms of energy. Hill's one big idea is the concept of transmutation, the process of taking an intangible impulse of desire and changing its vibration until it takes on a physical counterpart in the form of riches or achievement. This isn't mysticism. It is a mental law. Consider the story of Edwin C. Barnes. When he stepped off a freight train in Orange, New Jersey, he looked like an ordinary tramp. He had no money, no connections, and no invitation. But in his own mind, he was a king. I want you to see Barnes not as a man looking for a job, but as a man who had already decided he was Thomas Edison's partner. He didn't say, "I'll try this for a few months." He said, I will start anywhere. I will do anything, but I am here to go into business with Edison. This was a burning desire, an obsession that left no room for retreat. He stayed in that state of mind for 5 long years, working a menial job, appearing to be just another cog in the wheel to everyone else. But he was a magnetized mind. He held his dominating thoughts so intensely that when the opportunity finally appeared, disguised, as it often is, in the form of a rejected invention called the Eddy phone, he recognized it instantly. He literally thought himself into a partnership that lasted 3 decades. Contrast this with the story of R.U. Darby's uncle, who was a graduate of what we might call the University of Hard Knocks. He was caught by gold fever and spent weeks digging in Colorado. He found a vein of ore, but then it disappeared. Discouraged and weary, he sold his machinery to a junkman for a few $100s and took the train home. The junkman, however, sought expert counsel. He brought in a mining engineer who understood fault lines. The engineer calculated that the vein would be found just 3 feet from where the Darbys had stopped drilling. And that is exactly where it was. The junkman took millions from that mine because he knew enough to look past the temporary defeat. But the story doesn't end there. Darby took that 50-cent lesson in persistence and eventually became one of a small group of fewer than 50 individuals who sold more than $1 million of life insurance annually. He recouped his loss many times over because he learned that no doesn't mean no. He learned that success often hides just one step beyond the point where defeat overtakes you. He told himself, I stopped 3 feet from gold, but I will never stop because people say no when I ask them to buy insurance. These stories prove that the mind, when magnetized by a single definite purpose, attracts the circumstances and people necessary to make that purpose a physical reality. It is a universal law waiting for you to trigger it. The turning point for you comes the moment you realize that the only limitation is the one you have set up in your own mind. It is a shift from a passive wish to an active, obsessive belief. This isn't just a change in mood. It is a fundamental alteration of your neurological state. I want to tell you about Dr. Frank Gonzalez, a young preacher who desperately wanted $1 million to start a new kind of school, the Armour Institute of Technology, where people could learn by doing. For 2 years, he thought about it. For 2 years, he wished for it. But nothing happened because a wish has no weight. One Saturday afternoon, he reached a moment of absolute decision. He said, I will have that money within a week. The moment he made that definite decision, a strange feeling of assurance came over him. He announced he would preach a sermon titled, What I Would Do If I Had $1 Million. He was so energized by this internal decision that he walked into the pulpit the next day and spoke with such conviction, having even forgotten his notes, that Philip D. Armour stood up at the end and gave him the $1 million. It wasn't the sermon that was a catalyst. It was the internal decision that preceded it. This is the essence of success consciousness. It is like an usher in a dark theater slowly raising the house lights. The darkness of fear and doubt doesn't just disappear. It is transmuted into light so gradually that you don't even realize the shift is happening until you are standing in the glow. You must prepare yourself to receive the formula by first deciding that your goal is not a possibility, but an inevitability. When you are ready for a thing, it puts in its appearance. How do we crystallize this desire into action? We must look at the 6 definite practical actions that serve as a daily ritual for developing money consciousness. I want you to treat these not as a list of chores, but as a sacred daily ritual of self-determination. First, you must fix in your mind the exact amount of money or the specific achievement you desire. Being vague has no power. Second, you must determine exactly what you intend to give in return for this reward. because there is no such reality as something for nothing. Third, you must establish a definite date for this possession. Fourth, you must create a definite plan and begin putting it into action immediately, whether you feel ready or not. Fifth, you must write all of this out in a clear, concise statement. Finally, you must read this statement aloud twice daily, once before you sleep and once when you wake. As you read, you must see, feel, and believe yourself already in possession of the result. This is the practice of auto-suggestion. You are talking to your subconscious mind with the faith of a child. To give you clarity on what this sounds like, I want you to imagine saying these words to yourself with absolute conviction. By the first day of January, 5 years from today, I will have in my possession $500,000, which will come to me in various amounts during the interim. In return for this money, I will give the most efficient service of which I am capable, rendering the fullest possible quantity and the best possible quality of service as a creative architect of narratives. I believe I will have this money in my possession. My faith is so strong that I can now see this money before my eyes. I can touch it with my hands. It is now awaiting transfer to me at the time that I deliver the service I intend to render. I am awaiting a plan, and I will follow that plan when it is received. This is how you talk to the deeper layers of your mind. I think of Hill's son, Blair, who was born without any external sign of ears. The doctor said he would be deaf and mute for life, but Hill refused to accept that reality. He told a white lie to the boy's mind, planting the idea that his disability was actually a distinct advantage over his brother. He told Blair that because he was different, people would give him extra attention and opportunity. Because Blair had the faith of a child and believed his father, his mind was shaped to expect hearing. He used the principle of bone conduction by biting down on the casing of a phonograph to hear the vibrations. By the time he reached college, his desire was so intense that when he tried a new hearing aid, nature was induced to correct her errors. He didn't just hear, he went on to help thousands of others. These takeaways aren't just about accumulating cash. They are about using persistent desire to overcome any life-altering outcome. You now hold the blueprint. As we reach the end of this journey, I want to remind you why we can claim to be the masters of our fate and the captains of our souls. It is a line from William Ernest Henley's poem Invictus, and Napoleon Hill spent 25 years proving its truth. We are the masters because we have the power to control our thoughts. The universe is filled with a form of universal power that adapts itself to the nature of the thoughts we hold. It does not discriminate between the thought of poverty and the thought of riches. It will act upon whichever one you allow to dominate your mind. Your brain becomes a magnet, attracting the forces, the people, and the circumstances that harmonize with your deepest, most persistent inner convictions. Think of the one big idea that created the United States Steel Corporation. Charles M. Schwab had a $600 million idea, which, in today's dollars, is a staggering $12.5 billion. He didn't have the mills. He didn't have the capital. He had a plan and the faith to convey it to J.P. Morgan. He was merely Andrew Carnegie's Man Friday until he gave birth to that idea. You are no different. You have the same access to the mental chemistry that allowed him to bargain with life on his own terms. I am inviting you now to burn your ships. Think of the great warrior who landed on enemy shores and ordered his fleet to be set on fire, telling his men they had no choice but to win or perish. That is the state of mind required for the transmutation of desire. You must be willing to cut off all sources of retreat. You must commit to your one big idea with the same imagination that allowed Asa Candler to see a world-spanning empire in an old brass kettle and a scrap of paper that became Coca-Cola. Candler didn't just buy a recipe. He bought an idea and mixed it with his own imagination. Every great empire, every massive fortune, and every life-changing achievement began as a single idea nurtured in the imagination of someone who refused to quit. You should feel calmer now, knowing that the word impossible is merely a word to be clipped out of your dictionary. You are smarter now, possessing the knowledge that your mind is a laboratory where your future is brewed. And I hope you are more hopeful, for you are only ever 3 feet away from the gold. Go back to your workshop. The alchemy of desire is waiting for you. Stay success conscious, for the only limitation is the one you choose to keep.